All right, hello and welcome. I am going to be going over a little instruction or hopefully instructional video that's useful to you for thinking about how to normalize data. What the basic idea here is, I'm going to sweep this in here. We're using this example. It's an example from Ernst& Young. And what they are doing here is showing how you break out a flat file database that might have been made already for a report. So this here might be a report showing employees and where they work, when they were born, when they were hired, when they got moved or terminated. And so this is an overall report. But what happens in these reports is it actually ends up that you have multiple things being tracked in them. And so I'm going to walk you through how to do this, and we're going to use it in Excel. I want you to notice here, it says here they're going to create 3 new tables, and they already said it right here, but I need to walk you through, I think, the process. So I'm going to scooch this out of the way. I'm going to bring this little baby in. This is the data that they had. Let me make that the right size, all pretty. We'll make the column widths look good. I think that looks pretty good. And so we can see, and just again, that's what their data was, and here's what it looks like if you have it in Excel. All right, so here's what we're looking at. What I can see if I'm thinking about this in terms of normalization, what I'm looking for is dependencies. So dependencies means if the value of one field depends on another, when we can see that the values always change. You can always also think about it as these values repeat together. So we can see, let me just note here, I have this employee and their birth date is different. So we have Leander Vachu, there's the birth date. Anisha Dismas, there's the birth date. And with each new employee name, I get a new birth date. And in fact, it sort of solidifies the deal when I see Anisha again and it's the same birth date here. Okay, so we would say here the employee name and birth date are, I don't know, you almost call them, they call them dependencies, functionally dependent. Anyway, they repeat together. And I can also think of these as being kind of a cool way to like conceptualize the data we're keeping track of. So I'm keeping track of employee as that data. Now down here in the sheets, I'm going to go ahead and rename these. So this will be called the flat file. I'm going to put another sheet in here, and this one will be called employee. Okay, I'm going to zoom this up to 150. Come on, it should go into 150 for me. There we go. And I'm going to copy those 2 values that we're repeating together, and they're going to go into employee. We're very excited by that. We have employee there. Now, that was awesome. What I can see now is I only actually have, even though there's 6 lines here, there's only 5 employees listed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove duplicates. And I can do this in Excel. It's pretty easy. I click on data here. You can see me click. I can hit remove duplicates, and it'll say which the fields to sort of think about being duplicates. Here I'm thinking about both of them, and it removes the 1 duplicate value. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to happen, and so away we go. There's employee. That one's awesome. Next up, I need to start thinking about what other functional dependencies or what other fields go together. When fields repeat together, they go together. And I can see that next. Accounting, floor 33. Every time I see accounting, I see floor 33. Every time I see strategy, floor 22. Every time I see marketing, floor 12. I'm going to call this sheet unit. Okay. Yes. I'm going to copy unit location, and I'm going to paste them into here. I'm going to zoom that up to 150% to make it look pretty. Look at that. Let me note here, if I hit remove duplicates and my cursor's outside, it kind of freaks out. Okay. So if you hit remove duplicates and you didn't have it in the data or you didn't have your data selected, remove duplicates won't work. I still want to remove all the duplicates. And here again, we've removed, and now we only have one record per thing. All right, in normal situations, by the way, these flat files are huge. And in fact, let me bring up the one that my poor students have to do. That's actually the one from this O Canada exercise. And that one is going to be, let me find it here. Let's see if we've got it in here in a good place. All right, I'm going to find it over here though, aren't I? So when you have it in like 10 different places on here, yeah, let's bring it up here. Don't tell anybody, but this is the solution. We'll just take a minute to open. And we're not going to worry about that student's name. And it's going to take an hour to load, even though I've got the data right here, and I could just show you it. Come on, baby. So all I'm doing this for is to show you an example of a big sheet, and it's taken a minute. That's okay. If you're on YouTube, you can skip this part, get to the real cool thing. All right. So I'm going back over here, and here is what like my students had to deal with. That's a big sheet, okay? And here was a lot of different stuff. And so anyway, we're doing it the different way. Oh, that's a great sim sign here. Something to say there. Get out of the way here. Move that. Come back into here. All right, so I did unit, I did employee, and then the next thing I need to do here is think about like what else repeats together. And we can see here like the hire date, this date is different for everything. Now, I have to conceptualize this, and I'll tell you right now what it's for. What this is when an employee is assigned to a unit, that's the date of the hire. And then if they transfer out of the unit, then that's the end date out. So if they're either fired or transferred. Because we can see Anisha here, boom. Anisha got out of this department, and Anisha is in this department. So here's the thing. We still have to have that dependency or that thing that repeats together. In this case, like you kind of have to feel it, unfortunately, that the hire date depends on the unit and the employee, okay? If there's more data here, it would be more obvious, but that's what this is going to be. So I'm going to put this in here. We're going to call it employee unit, just like they said we should. And we're also going to zoom this up to 150 so it's nice and pretty. And I need employee name. I'm holding down my command key on your Windows machine. You would hold down Control, and I'm selecting those 4 columns because, again, hire date depends on employee name and unit. End date also depends on employee name and unit, and that's what goes in here. I paste that in, and maybe it's not in a good mood now. We're going to go back because I must not have copied that. And now we can paste it, and it's very pretty. Okay, so this is actually only step 1. We have not normalized this data, okay? If we were back in here, I'm going to swing this up again, separating into its own table, blah, blah, blah. But notice here, what we need is ID numbers in our sheets, okay? Now, here's why you want that. What's going to happen is, especially in employee unit, instead of the employee name being the way I link to this, I shouldn't be using a text field. In some cases, you can use a date because date is actually a number, but normally we want to use a number. So employee, I need an employee ID. And we're used to this, right? Because we might have 2 employees with the same name. I don't know, we hire people named John Smith. We're going to have John Smith as our name. So here's what the trick is. I'm going to show you trick number 1, and that is in Excel, it's going to be such that I need to have the employee ID in this column. Okay, this is where it starts. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let me show you another trick. I'm going to just clear these out. I'm going to do the fancy, if I put 1 down and then 2 down, if I select those two, then I double click on my magic little tiny square right there, it'll fill down. Oops, and I just messed it up anyway. That is funny. Why didn't it fill right? Stupid thing. So it drags right, yeah. Dumb. Let me try that again. If I double click, yeah, what happened? Anyway, okay, so that's filling down employee ID. I need to do it at unit 2. I'm going to put unit on the left side. I'm going to insert. This is going to be unit ID. For some reason they started with 100, and this is just in the example. I'll just show it to you here. And I'm just hand keying those in because, I don't know, they said they want 100, 101, 102, and we're just going to do it for them since there's only 3 records. We're done. All right. Employee unit, we're going to deal with later. In fact, we're going to deal with it now because this is where we're going to replace every place it says employee name, we're actually going to put employee ID. Every place it says unit, we're going to put unit ID, okay? This is easy. Right, well, not easy. This is where you're doing your super Excel stuff. So I'm going to put EMP ID. And what we're going to do is look it up. So I do a thing in Excel, it's called a vlookup. Now, vlookup. Vlookup is fine. What we do is we look up a value. I'm going to be looking up the employee name. So that's my B2. I need to look up that value in the employee table, which is these 2 columns, okay? So notice here it's employee A2 to B6. So it's the top left to the bottom right. Then I'm looking up which column I want to return. I look up the employee name and I return the ID. That's column 2, okay? The last thing you need to do is make sure you always put false here. It's funny that it defaults to true, and it's kind of stupid. There's an X lookup function, and apparently it defaults to false. But that is, oops, I have to explain what I'm doing before I do that. But anyway, you want to put false here. That gives you an exact lookup. All right, so B2, I'm looking up the employee name. And then I need to look up Anisha. And let me just show you why. If I copy this and paste it down, I'm going to paste. Shall I do a double click? We'll do the fancy way. Look at that. Oops. Oh, hey. Let's just fill down. All right, if I fill it down, notice at the bottom, I get a problem with Anisha. And what's happening is it's because this I need to be A2 to B6 the whole way. I can't be having it change the A like to A3, B7. No. And you probably learned this in Excel already, otherwise you wouldn't be on an advanced thing like this and learning about vlookup. But when I put a $sign in, and let me zoom that out so you can actually see it. If I put a $sign in next to the 2 and a $sign in next to the 6, this again to the left, it will freeze that. And as I copy down, it'll always stay 2 and always stay 6. So now when I copy this down, it will copy normally, and I can see this. It's hard to see now. Let me just click in again. It says A2 to B6, that's fine. And if I go to the bottom, it remains A2 to B6. So that's what those $signs are for, and that's to make it so we have employee ID. Look how pretty that is. So now we have Anisha here. Anisha is number 2, and we know now that Anisha has repeated in here, and we're very excited. Okay, let's do this to unit also. And if you're feeling super califragilistic, what do we call that? You can do this yourself, because I'm just going to do the vlookup again. Vlookup, I put my parentheses, I want to look up this name here. This time I'm going to go into the unit table. I'm going to select the unit and the unit ID. I'm going to hit a comma. I need column 2 to come back because that's unit ID. And then I always put false here. And there are actually, sadly, there's times when you don't want false, but we'll worry about that later. And then now I'm going to just remember, if I copy this down, it gets freaked out. And it's because I need to say a $sign. Let me make that big. need to put in a $ next to the 2 and a $ next to the 4 to the left. Okay, now I can copy this down. I'm just going to do the fill handle again. Boom, 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 boom. And now we can see, right, accounting is 100, strategy 101, 102, and that is really cool. And then one of the funny things is, let me just bring this up here. We swoop back into the example, 100, 100, and then they messed it up. Oops. They did not do their values right. Can you see that? I'm making the tisk tisk sound because you know what? Why would you put this wrong? Okay. Anyway, I didn't do it. All right, we'll zoom that back and make it unit ID. And now what I want, by the way, I'm zooming over here, and notice I just want employee ID and unit ID because I can actually look up the employee's name or the unit name if I need to. Here's your trick next. I don't want this to say vlookup anymore because I need to get rid of employee name. And if I delete this right now, it goes to ref because it's trying to look it up based on the name. What I need to do first, now that I'm put in these values, is I actually need to go back. I'm going to go to home here. I'm going to show you, I'm going to hit copy, and then I'm going to hit paste, and I'm going to paste values. I don't remember what this looks like in Windows Excel. Sorry, it looks different though. But look for paste values is what you want. And when I paste values, what happens is the vlookups disappear. Okay? So over here I have vlookups, and watch this. I'm going to do the same in unit ID. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste values, and now all those vlookups are gone. So I delete here, and now I don't lose anything. It doesn't say that weird reference anymore. And now it looks, this is just like it's supposed to look with a normalized table. Employee ID, unit ID, hire date, end date. And we already remember, like, right, something's weird here, like that's not right. All right, that was cool. All right, what else do we want to do? Well, let's go into here. Let's dress it up finally. Let me just show you the last dress up. The last dress up is going to be, I'm going to scooch back up here. I want the unit ID to be to the left of unit, and I want the employee ID to be the left of employee name, because those actually end up being what I look up later. So I'm actually going to hit a cut, then I'm going to hit a right click here, and I'm going to insert cut cells, and see now I have unit ID over here. Boom. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to say cut. I'm going to right click on here, and I'm going to say insert cut cells. Ooh, look at that. Now, if I want to look up the employee, I can do that. Now, for your last trick, here's the last trick of the day. I'm going to make a reconstructed, because what normally happens, by the way, is these employee unit, and employee, these would be sort of the base tables, and then you would make reports using those tables as your basis. I'm going to go ahead and make a report here, and we're just going to do the exact same report. We're going to have a report that shows all the hire dates and who the person was, what their birthday was, and what unit they're in. Okay? So, you ready for this? We're just going to go nuts, I think. Let's do, what are we going to do? We just want the actual name, birth date, etc. So let's do this. You all ready for this? It's going to be crazy. All right, here's what I want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to base it on the employee unit table. Okay? It's going to get crazy. Here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just have it pull in this one is going to be the employee name. Okay? And here I'm actually going to vlookup. I'm just going to start vlooking up stuff. I'm going to vlookup. Let me make this bigger. Sorry, folks. Let me make it bigger so we can watch it do its pretty stuff. Equals vlookup. I'm going to be vlooking up. I'm going to look up the employee unit value, this number. So I'm going to look up who employee number 1 is, and I'm going to look up their name. What? That's crazy. I'm going to look up their name, and that means I return column 2 here, because I'm going to look up the name. So I'm getting employee unit, the employee number. I'm looking up the employee name based on their ID. So I want to return column 2, and I do put in false here. I hit my parentheses, and then what I need to do is put in my $sign, because I'm getting totally used to that now. Put some $signs, and then this one, there were 6 of these. I'll go down to row 7. Watch this. See how it just goes NA? We'll just take that off. All right. So there's the list of the employees. Next up is going to be the birth date. You ready for this? I'm totally just going to VLOOKUP all this stuff. So I'm like the master VLOOKUPper. I'm going to VLOOK it up, and I'm going to look back into the employee unit, and I'm still going to be looking up their date, the ID. So I know the ID of the person, but what I want to find is the birth date. This is spooky. I'm actually going to go 3 columns here, and I'm going to put number 3, because column 3 is birth date. Dang, he's awesome. Put my false in there. I'm going to hit enter. And the funny thing, see that's a number? Did I just tell you a minute ago that dates are a number? Put that in there, and up here I need to format this as a date. Where's date? Short date. Look at that. The end of issue 9789. Dang, that looks good. You've got my $signs in, and then I paste it down. Wow, that is awesome. All right, so that's birth date. Now I need to know what unit that the person is in. So I'm going to, this is a little crazy, not crazy at all. I need to do, this is from the unit table, but I'm still going to be using the reference from this one. So I'm going to use the unit ID right here, and I'm going to look up the unit name. So I need to VLOOKUP. Oops, make this big. I do like these big so you can see them. Equal VLOOKUP. Oops, I'm going to click that so it looks pretty like that. I'm going to look up the unit ID, and I'm going to look that up in the unit table, and I am going to look up the name of the unit. That's in column 2, and I put my false, and then I hit parentheses, and that's accounting, and I'm still remembering my $sign and my $sign, and then we got accounting, and then we fill it down. Ooh, that is looking really good. All right, shrink that back. There's a whole bunch of VLOOKUPs, isn't it? Next up is unit location, and the same deal. I'm going to be looking in this table for the unit ID, and I'm going to look up in the unit where the location is. Oops. By the way, this also is okay, even though I did that, because unit, the top row actually doesn't, I mean, I'm not looking it up. It's looking for the 100 or whatever it was. Oops, and of course it just freaks out on me. Not trying to type a formula. What did I just do wrong here? Oh, that's what I get for doing something wrong. VLOOKUP, VLOOKUP. And I'm just going to repeat this because I've already done it. This time I'm going to remember that I actually just want those. I want the location, and that's in number 3, and I put a false, and I hit parentheses, and that's in floor 33. I need to put, is it going to show? Look at that. Oops. Get a $sign by the 2, $sign by the, oops, that's the wrong one. $sign by the A2, $sign by the C4. Man, I'm good at this. Look at that. Boop, boop, boop. And I need a hire date. The funny thing about these is I can just use these from the other one, ENDDATE. These values I can just pick up from over there in the employee unit table, boom. And then I can actually just copy these, and we'll just, oops. I'm going to use the fill handle so you can see what I'm doing. Fill that down. Watch this. Wink. Fill it across. Oops. Those are blank. We'll worry about that some other time, but for now, I'll just leave those, take those out. If we were in a different Excel class, we'd be worried about that. All right, so my show off thing is if I go back to flat file, it is exactly the same. Okay. Oops, what did I do wrong? Birth date needs to be a little wider. Wow, that looks so good. Let me put that in there so you just see like, dang, he didn't do anything different. All right, but that's it. So that's how you do the whole thing. Now I'm gonna be done. I could probably save this, but I'm not going to. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. What do we? Click like and subscribe.